It's funny, like it's to me, the mentality is a really simple one in the sense that the confidence comes from preparation. So when the game's on the line, I'm not asking myself to do something that I haven't done thousands of times before, right? So when I prepare, I know what I'm capable of doing, I know what I'm comfortable doing, and I know what I'm not comfortable doing. Right? And so in those moments, if it looks like I'm ice cold or not nervous, it's because I've done it thousands of times before.
Bryant with the save.
Oh, you gotta get a shot here.
Final seconds. Bryant for the win. Bang!
I think the greatest fear that we face is ourselves, actually. I think it's not anything that's external or anything that's superficial. I think the greatest fear you face is yourself, because we all have dreams, and it's very scary sometimes to accept the dream that you have. And it's scarier still to say, okay, I want that. It's scary because you're afraid that if you put your heart and soul into it and you fail, then how are you going to feel about yourself, right? And so being fearless means putting yourself out there and going for it. No matter what, go for it. Not for anybody else, but for yourself.
Have two. Bryant to shot. Gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling. Has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in.
This will be 18 for 20 from the line and an 81-point game.
We are here to celebrate greatness for 20 years. Excellence for 20 years.
All I can do here is just thank you guys. Thank you guys for all the years of support. Thank you guys for all the motivation. Thank you for all the inspiration. Mamba out.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Four Quarter Talk podcast with myself, Jack Brazil, and my co-host, Josh Mazoke. Say what's up, bro?
What's up? This is a very special episode to us. This is our special Kobe tribute episode. It's very dear to us. He was a big inspiration for me personally in terms of ever picking up a basketball, and we just felt like we needed to do this. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy.
Yeah, it just felt right. We're recording this on the 25th of January. So obviously tomorrow is that 1 year anniversary of
when you hear this,
of the tragic day of 26th of January 2020, when we unfortunately lost 9 lives in that helicopter crash, including Kobe and Gianna Bryant. A sad day, not just for basketball fans, but for people around the world. He was a man that transcended basketball, transcended sports, was so much more than just a basketball player. A philosopher, a father, a motivational speaker, a storyteller, all of the above. So Kobe Bryant was really one of a kind. And today we're going to try our best. There's no way you can put his legacy or what he meant to people into words, but we're going to try our best to honor his memories. You've just seen a little tribute we put together at the start of the podcast for everyone listening on Spotify. If you want to see that, it will be on our YouTube channel. But it just felt right to make that video. I've spent 3 days straight working on it. It just felt right to honor Kobe Bryant, not just with our words like we will in today's podcast, but with a little tribute.
And he was just at the start of what he was going to end up being.
Yeah.
So
didn't even get to get his Hall of Fame speech. He left behind 3 daughters and a loving wife. So real tragic day, and it still hits hard for me, and I'm sure it still hits hard for you as well, Josh. Every day, there's a lot of times when I just think like Kobe's really gone. I mean, if Kobe to me was kind of like, he kind of had like a superhero aura around him, almost he was invincible, and to see that he can just go like that, it puts life into perspective for you, because you never know when it's going to be your last moment on this earth. So, it's a lesson to not take life for granted. But Kobe, I hope we can do justice with this podcast, and we're just going to just try and honor his legacy as much as we can, really. It'll be hard, but we hope you enjoy. We hope you, in the comments or message us on social media your favorite Kobe moments, what Kobe meant to you. Because personally,
Yeah, comment below for sure.
Because personally, for me, I've never really played a game of basketball in my life, but he still, inspires me in my everyday struggles, in my everyday ventures. To work harder and to grind it out, because that's what he was all about. So, Josh, I understand you wanted to talk about his influence over the league and yourself as well.
Yeah. Yeah, starting with the league. For a lot of the players that are in the league right now, you've got a lot of the young players that are up and coming, the Devin Bookers, the Jason Tatums.
Yeah.
A lot of them have a heavy Kobe influence on them. You can see it in their game, Kyrie Irving, of course. You can see it in their game, whether they have a personal relationship with him or not, just from watching him play. He was the MJ. I mean, I've never watched MJ dribble a basketball in an NBA game before live, but Kobe was that guy. He had that aura about him, as Jack said, and he brought so much of the game, not just in terms of his skill, but the way he trained, like, so tirelessly. He had the famous 4 a.m. workouts. There's a whole thing of the Mamba mentality, which transcends sports. That's a lot of people's attitude towards how they go about their day in a lot of things that they do. And he's left that on the league. And then towards the end, in his retirement stages of his career, he transcended into something of an inspiration, but he also made it a point to work with the younger players coming up as well. He started to train players in the off season, and he made it a thing. As he had daughters, and he really put a lot into bringing up the women's game as well. And he trained. He had the Mamba Academy where he'd train with, his daughter Gianna and her friends, and then he also made it a point to really promote the WNBA. So he cared about pushing the game forward, and he cared about the youth. He took that time. He wasn't one of those players that hated on. He always wanted to pass it on, pass it forward. So he had that type of influence on a lot of people. I mean, we're two people that we're on the other side. We're halfway around the world from him, and he has such a prevalence in our lives. So yeah, lasting legacy on the league. A lot of players dedicated their last season towards him, and it is a legacy that will last for a long time. You've got players like Kyrie Irving that push it forward. That Mamba mentality is something that stick for a long time.
Yeah, I think a lesson that Kobe Bryant has taught me is to work like you've got nothing, even when you have everything. Kobe Bryant was a 5-time NBA champion and never took a day off in his life. And even when he had succeeded all that greatness, he still was giving back to the game every day, every week. With the mentorship of these players, setting those challenges out to players like Giannis to win the MVP and Trae Young. And you saw when he died, the players on the court, how affected they were. Everyone was in floods of tears. So the two lessons he most taught me is work like you have nothing even if you have everything, and give back like you owe people things when you may not. He's probably one of the most selfless people in sports I can think of. His life revolved around the game of basketball, but it was deeper than that. He was a family man, a girl dad. Has 4 daughters, who's 3 of which he's unfortunately left behind. And he's just a credit to all of us. Even if you're not a basketball fan, you can take a piece of wisdom from Kobe Bryant's life, Kobe Bryant's legacy. But
he remained so driven. Like, even post-career, he was attacking it with that same relentlessness, with his storytelling. But shifting to personally, when I first started playing basketball, I didn't watch the NBA yet. I just, my friends would play and I just played with them. But when I started watching, he was actually injured. But I'd always hear people talking about Kobe, and I wouldn't know who he was because I started watching when he was injured. And I'd go through. People would say he's like MJ. So I thought, MJ, best player of all time. I want to see what this Kobe guy's like because he's still playing. I watched like several documentaries of his. He had one with LeBron, and I just felt like just watching him, how he played, how he he analyzed the game. You know, he was like a maniac in the way the details that he went through relentlessly every day. I'd watch with my little brother, and we would just watch how much it mattered to him, how much it hurt, how much every loss hurt. You know, he always said that a loss hurts more than a win. He felt worse after a loss than he felt good after a win, you know, and it really drove him in a lot of stages of his career, which we'll probably go through later. But just personally, like, and when I've had a couple injuries, and during my time, like, I would always just go back and watch like his documentaries and how he went about, you know, coming back from injuries, how he played through a lot of things, you know, how it was just, he didn't have to think about something, he didn't have to motivate himself. It was just there. It was just all he had. He played for 20 years, and he truly gave 20 years to the game. There was no question about, is he up for it? You know, even when he wanted out, he played hard. He never gave up on anyone, on any teammate, on any team, he never gave up on the Lakers. You know, he demanded a trade at one point, but he was always worth every penny because he knew what he was going to bring to the game. And it was definitely cut short. You know, his career on the court could have been even better. You know, he had to battle some unfortunate injuries towards the end, but it was just more than anything he did, you know, technically on the court. It was just his mentality that's what really sat with me. That's what affected me.
Yeah, that Mamba mentality it's big in basketball. As I said, you can apply it to every day of your life. When I was editing that video, you saw at the start of the YouTube video. Kobe. I was watching some of his interviews, and this is where I see Kobe as more value to my life. Obviously, I'm not an athlete or anything, but he was such a fantastic motivational speaker. And he was saying about his career that he didn't leave any stone unturned. You know, he gave all he could to the game. He got the most out of the talent he had through hard work and dedication. So he was saying he has no regrets on the basketball side of things, but he was looking forward to that next chapter of his life, you know, as the storyteller, as the father, as the girl dad, as the husband, as the mentor, you know, as someone who's pushing forward the women's game. Which I think is an underrated aspect of Kobe Bryant's legacy. You know, the woman, no other prevalent figure in basketball has paid attention to the women's game like Kobe Bryant did, and that's mainly because of the love he had for his daughter Gianna, who wanted to be just like her father. And you know, to show your love for your daughter in that way, and see that in other women who want to get to the top like he did, and help them chase their dreams when he's such a superstar is it's really admirable. And yeah, as you said, it was cut way too short, man.
Yeah, going off that, I just saw recently Zach Randolph reflecting on it, because Zach Randolph's daughter was playing on the team with Gianna, and he was just talking about how, like, Kobe truly cared about everyone on that team. You know, he really wanted to give a lot. He wanted to really push forward the women's game. He really saw potential in a lot of those players, and in the league itself. And I just remember, you know, it would always be a thing every time he was expecting. It would always be a thing that, you know, oh, Kobe, it's the girl again. Like, I feel bad for Kobe. But there was an interview where he was asked about, you know, does he wish he had a son, you know, that can, you know, push forward his legacy? And he said that Gianna was going to push that legacy. And if you just go back and watch her play, like, she really had potential. Like, yeah. She was really a killer. And from accounts from other players that saw her play up close and personal, like, she really had potential there. So
Wow.
Yeah, fortunate.
I remember, I think this is how everyone reacted, but I remember when I got the news, I was just scrolling on my phone, and then I got an Instagram notification, and it was one of my friends sent a post into a group chat, and it was just like, what the WTF? And I opened it, and I saw the post. It was a TMZ post saying Kobe Bryant involved in a helicopter crash, and then I think my reaction, as everyone else's, was this isn't real. This Kobe Bryant, like this isn't real. Come on, like
Was in denial for
why?
was in
This is a
denial
terrible.
for
This is a terrible joke. And then you kind of go on your day for a bit, and then you start to see, oh, this actually could be true. And you still don't want to believe it. And then I remember on the day very vividly, there was reports about people were misreporting all kinds of things and just twisting the story. But the thing I always remember, just how the world like it showed me how big Kobe Bryant was to the world. I'd never seen a reaction like that to someone's death ever, and it just shows you how big of a legacy he's left behind, and that's something that will transcend time. It will, it won't only inspire our generation; it will inspire the next generation. It will inspire generations for time. His legacy is timeless. That's how big Kobe Bryant was. That day was extremely painful, and
it was
that
a
pain,
terrible day.
Pain is still.
I felt bad. I felt so bad for his family. There was so much misinformation. It was a mess that day. But he truly does transcend sports. He's one of those figures where the whole world just stops when that news comes out. And there'd been people that I admired, that passed, and I'd feel like, oh, that's terrible, rest in peace. But this was one that really like stuck with me for a long time. It was really like grieving someone that was really a part of your life. Like it was just, and we're two people from the UK, never. I mean, I've been in LA. I was actually in LA during the first Kobe day, right after he retired. But never anywhere near him. But just the impact he could have in so many people's lives. You see over in China, he made it. He traveled to Asia every year, and it was just it was hysteria. LeBron said that when they went during the Olympics in 2008. When he saw the way people reacted to him, LeBron said he thought he was famous until he just saw the way people reacted to Kobe. It was just a different type of figure. It was like larger than life.
Yeah,
that's why it just hit so differently. Like for him to be gone, it wasn't someone that you really ever thought he was kind of invincible type.
Yeah,
where it was like
he's like a superhero.
Yeah.
That's how I can describe it. Like if Superman was real, it's someone like Kobe Bryant. And I think we should move on to celebrating the career and life of Kobe Bryant. We've both prepared a list of our top 5 favorite moments from Kobe Bryant. Obviously, if we have any overlap, we'll just discuss them together. But Josh, would you like to go first?
Yep. All right. So at 5. I have kind of 2 moments, but they're like put together. It's two scoring streaks that he had at very crucial moments, both in his MVP season in February 2003 and then in 2007. So in 2003, he had a streak of in the month of February, he had a streak of 9 straight 40-point games, in which he averaged 41 minutes, 44 points. On 50% shooting and 47% from 3. So this was during his MVP season, and it was after Shaq had left, of course. So it was a point in which they really needed this, and he just put the team on his back. It was just he couldn't miss it, like several moments that he's had in the past, in other moments I will mention later in the list. But he tied MJ for the longest for the 4th longest streak in NBA history, and
crazy.
It was insane. He had so many moments in his career where he just he's one of the best scorers of all time, of course, as we all know.
See, as much as we've discussed him as a person, like we can't forget also what a fantastic basketball player he was as well. Top 5 all time easily. Brought 5 rings to the city of LA. Yeah, he just a legend on and off the court. And that other streak you wanted to mention.
Yeah. And the other streak was in 2007 March where he had 4 straight 50-point games.
Yeah.
This was an even more crucial moment because they had just gone on a 7-game losing streak, which was the worst in Phil Jackson's coaching career, and obviously in Kobe's career. And he just he just took it upon himself to just carry them through. You know, he wanted to make sure that they were in playoff contention. You know, he was a winner, and he was going absolutely crazy. You know, Phil Jackson had said that earlier on. You know, Kobe was trying to make it a point to be more of a team player, but he just said, like, you know, he's been playing a team role, but there's just not enough time right now in the season. So Kobe was that player. You know, there's the perception of him being a selfish player, but he just gave you what you needed. You know, there was different moments where it called for him to be that type of player. You know, when he had a squad around him, you know, in his championship years, he just did what he needed to do to make his teammates better, to put his team in position to win.
Well, yeah, that points to the fact that the most important thing to Kobe Bryant was the win and to win. You know, I was watching Stephen A. Smith's monologue following the death of Kobe Bryant last year, and he was saying that a loss to Kobe Bryant was like a fatal shot to the heart, or it felt like a part of him died when he lost, to the Celtics in 2008. He was devastated. So he was the definition of do anything to win, and if that's having to score 50 for 4 nights straight, that's what he had to do.
And when that record broke, he only scored 43 that night.
Yeah.
And he said he had an off night.
Yeah.
So that just shows he just scored at will.
My first Kobe moment, I'm not going to put them in any order because I feel like they're always iconic as each other. But I've got the first one I wanted to talk about was off the court, his Oscar win in for that short film, Dear Basketball. I watched that back today, and it's literally a masterpiece. And you can see exactly why it won an Oscar. It talks about, if you haven't seen it, it talks about how Kobe has given his whole life to the game of basketball and what the game of basketball has meant to him. It's an animated film, and it shows bits of him as a kid, shooting socks into the wash bag from him hitting game winners and winning scoring titles, and just sacrificing all that for the game of basketball and coming out of it, this larger than life figure. It was really moving, and then for that to be recognized by the Oscars, there's this famous quote from, I think it's a Republican journalist. She says, shut up and dribble. And, Kobe Bryant obviously didn't accept that at all, which is why he's been able to have an effect on so many people's lives. Because if he had just shut up and dribbled, he would have never had that effect. And to win an Oscar as, someone who's supposed to just dribble a basketball is quite the accomplishment. So it just showed he was great. He was great in everything he did, not just basketball. And when he had something, he wanted to do, he gave it everything and was always, kind of successful in those ventures. So just greatness personified.
It was just he gave a lot of his life to basketball. He played in the NBA for 20 years, and he died at just over 40. So that's half of his life dedicated to basketball. But after, apart from obviously coaching his daughter and the girls in the Mamba Academy and mentorship, he really took it serious. He wasn't. I've seen interviews of him after and podcasts after he retired, and a lot of people would be like, are you not going to go into coaching? Or as soon as you give up basketball, everyone thinks they want to do something different, but you're going to miss basketball too much. You're gonna want to get involved in basketball. But he was just affirmative in saying that, no, I found my new passion. My new passion is storytelling.
Yeah.
And he wanted to attack it in the exact same way. The blueprint was there for how he attacks everything that he does, and it's not exclusive to basketball. He really he relentlessly went for it, and he had a lot in store, coming up, and he seemed so excited about it. The way he described it, he really found his second passion. So yeah, it's such a shame, because I think we just saw the first chapter of Kobe. There was a lot more to come.
And every time I hear Kobe Bryant speak, he comes across as someone who was so intelligent and captivating, and that lends itself well to being a storyteller. When Kobe Bryant speaks, you listen, and we saw his first career in basketball, but unfortunately we didn't get to see his second career in storytelling, and that's such a shame. It really is. But yeah, just that short film there, it was Kobe just telling us all how much he'd given for what he had achieved, and for that to be recognized by the Academy just tells you how great he was.
The world was robbed of his Hall of Fame speech.
Oh sure. man, don't even. All right, what you got next, man?
All right. Coming out next, I'm sure this is on both of our lists. We've got his 60-point game.
Oof.
So, that season, as a Kobe fan, as someone that grew up like just loving watching him play, I didn't catch him. I wasn't old enough at the time to catch him right mid in his prime.
Yeah.
I saw his last couple prime years, and then this last year, it was great to see. The whole last year was just great in hindsight, just to see that he really got his flowers. Whilst he was here.
Yeah.
The amount of love that was shown to him, from old rivals, from old rival franchises, from his own franchise, just around the league. He was just showered in love for his whole last year, and it was very emotional. I was teary just from him retiring. So just for this all to happen afterwards was just insane. But it was hard to watch him on court though. He had a couple moments, but you could just definitely see that as much as his heart has always been in basketball, his body had kind of given up on him. He'd taken a lot over the years, a lot of injuries. After the game, you just see him, shower. You would just have, I don't know, he'd have like the whole of the Arctic on his shoulders, like he had all the ice he could take. But in this last game, leading up to it, Shaq, I remember he was on an interview with Shaq, and Shaq said, can you get me 40? Can you get me 50? And he was like, oh no, come on, man. And he just went out and gave 60. And this was not charity. This was not a charity 60-point game.
Yeah.
Just to put this game into perspective, okay. The team that they were going up against were the Utah Jazz, who needed to win this game to make the playoffs. All right. And he was going his primary matchup was Gordon Hayward, who said that, obviously they needed to win the game. I think they needed another team to lose as well, but still it was a game that mattered to them. Mm-hmm. And he also said himself that I can't take it easy on Kobe, because that would be disrespect to Kobe and what he was and what he stood for, his entire career. And you can see, he at points he's been double teamed, he's been contested he was being heavily contested. So and just watching that game, there was just, there was a rewatch party hosted by the NBA during the last lockdown, and it was actually it was a great moment, because the whole of Twitter were kind of acting like it was that day again, and they were tweeting like it was live, and it was just great. But just watching it over again, you just get the atmosphere that was there. A lot of celebrities there, Snoop Dogg, all of them, but there's just something about that Lakers, the dim lights, just something about it. It felt like watching a movie, it was just such a theatrical finish to a great career. I don't think anyone could just end their career in such a fashion like that. And then he finished, and what is a theme, I guess, with Kobe is he finished it with 2 clutch free throws, which, to clinch that 60 and to clinch the game. And he also had a game-winning pull-up jump shot as well. But a lot of iconic moments in Kobe's career were at the free throw line. I'll go over one later on in the list, but also I think his first points were at the free throw line. He had a lot of passing the 30,000. A lot of different moments. Passing MJ, a lot of different moments were at the free throw line. So just the mental strength that it took for him to carry his body. His body just definitely was not in it for him to put 60, but he just knew what his fans wanted to see. And like coinciding with this game was the Warriors, clinching 73. But I do not know a single person who was watching that Warriors game. I know I wasn't. It was almost sacrilegious to choose that game over the Lakers game. But it was just a crazy moment to watch.
Yeah, that moment was also on my list. I don't know how that game could not make your list. It's a real testament to mind over matter. As you said, Kobe Bryant, when he came off the court, you could tell he was 40 years old.
Gave everything he had.
He gave everything he had for those 60 points, and he went one last round with Father Time, and he won. 60 points in your last game, hitting those clutch fadeaways he's been hitting his whole career, clutch free throws, as you said. It's probably the most iconic NBA performance I've ever seen personally. Obviously, I haven't been watching basketball for as long as some other people, but that would probably never be top for me. Last game, Shaq challenges you to get 40, and you go get 60. But it just shows you his mental toughness, because as I said, his body clearly wasn't prepared to give a 60-point performance, but he willed his way through the pain, as he had done so many times in his career.
It was just a beautiful moment to watch him after the game, walking over to Shaq, walking over to, his daughters who were courtside. And you just see, he felt, you look at Kobe and you know that he really has no regrets of his career. Like, he feels like that's why, you have a lot of athletes, coming in and out of retirement, or, thinking they left something, but he did not leave an ounce of any, of sweat, of will on the table. It was a complete career.
And I was watching an interview with him again, and he said that that 60-point game was the best moment of his career, because his daughters were old enough to see it. They were old enough to witness it, and they were old enough to understand what he had done. And if you see the people in the crowd that night, you had Snoop Dogg, you had Jay-Z, Beyonce, you had the stars, and the brightest star in that building was Kobe Bryant. It was almost like the stars had come to see the superstar that night. And
Kobe was LA, and LA is just it was, a Hollywood writer couldn't write anything better than that finish. That was the best show in Hollywood that day. It was incredible.
I'm gonna go into my next one, which is his 81-point performance against the Toronto Raptors. Still the second most points in NBA history. Behind only Wilt's 100. But let me set this.
It's first to me.
Yeah, that was scoring against plumbers and electricians.
Yeah, he hit fadeaways against substitute teachers, man.
Yeah.
Kobe.
Even I could probably score at least 50. But this came against the Raptors in 2006. It was actually the 15-year anniversary of it the other day. So this one's fresh in the memory for a lot of people. Kobe Bryant, he shot 46 shots that night. 20 from the free throw line. Basically every time he got the ball, he was putting up a shot. And the amount of defensive solutions the Raptors tried to come up with to stop Kobe Bryant, I think he said he had about 6 different defensive assignments that night, and no one could get in his way.
He only had 22 and a half.
22 and a half. No, it was 50. Well, I thought it was a 55-point second half.
Or is it 20? Or something like that.
I think it was a 55-point second half. So I think he had 26 and a half.
Insane.
But
yeah, but it's just insane.
either way,
Absolutely insane.
yeah, he just torched everyone on that court that night.
When Kobe was
Jalen Rose is still holding jokes about that to this day.
Yeah.
No, even though he probably didn't even guard.
Yeah, he didn't even
guard him that much.
He didn't even guard him that much. You know who gets away with this for performers? Chris Bosh was on that team. I didn't even realize. No one ever brings up Chris Bosh.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't defending it. Yeah, but like, even Jalen Rose was guarding him. But I didn't know Chris Bosh was like on the game. But yeah, it was just, when Kobe was having that type of moment, he's like KD. He doesn't see you. It's not about you. Like, it's about whether it goes in or not. He doesn't see you anymore. He just sees the rim.
He sees the rim in the basketball. That's what he sees.
And it was not, it wasn't a Devin Booker 70. It was a game where they needed every one of those points.
And the thing is, in this game, he was very efficient. He shot 60%
highly
from the field
efficient.
and 18 for 20 from the free throw line. And if we're talking about, all right, Josh, I'm gonna put a question to you. Can you guess how many points the next highest scorer had on that night for the Lakers? Just say a random number.
15.
13 was the next highest. So he did that all by himself.
Oh, didn't he? Him and Kwame Brown combined for 82, right?
That's the highlight of Kwame Brown's career.
And funny, another thing as well. I think he had it wasn't long before that he had 62 through three quarters.
Yeah,
and he didn't get put back in. No, I think Phil Jackson asked him if he wanted to go back in, and he said, "Nah, it's cool.
Nah.
I'll get 70 another time."
Yeah,
and then he gets 80.
and he even says he was adamant until the day he was gone that he could have scored 100 that day. He could have scored way more.
He said he missed a lot of easy ones. And to be fair, looking at it, there were a lot of shots he could have made. So, and then because if you go on our Twitter, we have a post of him rewatching it. He's got a couple of tweets about it, and he
oh,
he said
that was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
He
said as soon as he saw who was guarding him, he had Jalen Rose, and he knew he's gonna.
I might put that in the edit. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see what we're talking about. But it is comedy gold. But yeah, what probably the greatest individual performance in NBA history.
Yeah.
But yeah. What you got next, Josh?
All right. For my next one, I've got this one to me, really like puts together what Kobe is. This is this symbolizes Kobe. So, so as I alluded to earlier, he had a lot of high career-defining moments at the free throw line, and this one was he had an injury. He had his biggest injury, the Achilles injury, which he was probably never the same again afterward. So he injured his Achilles against the Golden State Warriors in 2013. April, and this was in a closing stretch where it was that disappointing season, with the big three, with him, Dwight Howard, and Steve Nash, and it kind of fallen apart around him. They had a lot of issues, coaching. They had Mike D'Antoni coaching, and there was almost like a mutiny against them, and the whole season was falling apart. But as bad as it was, Kobe made it a point to make sure, we're going to the playoffs, like he wants to maximize everything out of whatever team he's on. And in those closing games, he was playing almost like every minute. And he was 34, so he was at an advanced part of his career, whilst he was also still in his prime. But as we're seeing with LeBron now. But after playing a lot of minutes, carrying the offense, his body started to wear down, and he tore his Achilles in a big game against the Golden State Warriors. Towards the end of the season, they needed every win they could get, and when he tore he was walking off the court, but they told him, as they always say, that if you don't make these free throws, if you don't take these free throws, you can't come back in. But also they needed those; it was in the clutch still, and he goes to the line, barely able to walk, and uses just that mama mentality, having the only thing that mattered to him in that moment was not the surgery that he was about to happen, the likely 1 to 2 years he was about to miss, possibly marking the end of his career as we knew it. But he just thought, these 2 free throws that my team needs if we have a chance to make the playoffs. And that's, he went through and sinked both of them. And, that shows what Kobe is all about in every way. And they were able to, win two of their last games and make the playoffs, but they got swept. But, just that
No one
moment,
remembers that bit. No one remembers that bit.
Yeah, just that moment, just showed that he did whatever he needed to do. You know, like whether he wasn't going to be there to, witness what happened next, he made sure to put his team in a position, to win,
to be competitive.
Yeah, and he said in an interview in 2016, as he was about to retire, he said, I just tried to buy us. He said, I just tried to buy us a little bit of time. I was trying to figure out a way to play around it, because if I can walk on my heel, maybe I can get around it because I don't have to get up on my toe. I had worked so hard to get us there. I'll be damned if we lose this effing game. Wow. And all that hard work goes to shit. I tried to finish the job. So that just shows that, he would have played on it if he physically could. And, he had several seasons where, he'd break his finger and he'd just play. Yeah. He just played through it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's what Kobe was about. He wanted to put his position. He wanted to be competitive. He didn't want to let go. And that's why he played so long. Any other player in a late advanced time of their career, he would have hung it up after, you're in your mid-30s. You can't play the same way anymore. But he went through
as well.
Yeah. He had nothing left to prove, but he went through relentless, he went through a tough, taxing rehab process. But yeah, those 2 free throws just, they signify what he was about.
Mm-hmm. And then I also want to just link into that. There's that famous clip where he's injured his right hand and he's still shooting with his left in the gym. Just rain or snow or sun, whatever, he was in the gym, he was working, even if you had suffered a massive injury. So yeah, just mind over matter is really what it was all about for Kobe Bryant, and that's the reason he could go for so long. He gave his whole life to the game of basketball, man. I'm gonna go swiftly into my next one. I've got his game winner against the Suns. In the 2006 playoffs, just to set the scene of what this series and what this shot meant. So going into these playoffs, Kobe averaged 35.4 points per game. It was his first of two scoring titles in a row. So the next highest scorer on that Lakers team, was 15 point per game, Lamar Odom. So to say he had the team on his back is bit of an understatement, especially on the offensive end. And then the next players with the most minutes on the roster were Smush Parker, Kwame Brown, and Chris Mim.
Brown.
I've never heard of Chris Mim in my life, but that just tells you what Kobe was working with in terms of teammates. But by God's grace and by 35.4 point effort of the season, Kobe's able to get the Lakers into the 7th seed, going into the playoffs. And in the first round, they run into Steve Nash's Phoenix Suns, who, going into the playoffs, have one of the most potent offenses in NBA history. The pace was incredible. Their transition offense was insane. You had the Morris Sotomayor dunking everything. Steve Nash, coming off an MVP season. So, everybody wrote the Lakers off. But going into game 4, the Lakers are actually up 2-1, which no one predicted. This is a tightly contested game going into the fourth quarter. and Kobe's actually able to send the game into overtime with a layup underneath the basket. And in overtime, I think you've all seen the highlight. I put it in the tribute video at the start. He wins the tip in overtime with about 8 seconds to go, and he's the one that chases after the ball. And I think everyone in that arena knew as soon as he chased after the ball like that, you knew what was coming next. He runs to the right elbow, and then hits a signature fadeaway with buzzing beater fadeaway to put the Lakers up 3-1. And the call by Mike Breen just makes this highlight so iconic as well. You got Kobe doing the fist pump celebration, and it's also the one where he rips his jersey to the side and screams with art of passion. I just love this highlight so much. It's definitely my favorite game winner in NBA history. Unfortunately, the Lakers went on to lose that series. They blew a 3-1 lead, but no one remembers that. Everyone remembers this shot. But yeah, just to have, the 7th seed Lakers with that lineup that I just read out in a position to be 3-1 up against this Phoenix Suns team, which was probably the best Phoenix Suns team in their history, is just remarkable. Do you remember that highlight? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Do I remember it? I mean, it was just crazy to see every time I hit. As soon as I saw that, because obviously when I started watching, I was just doing catch up. I was just just searching up everything of Kobe's career, trying to catch up. Back when I was 11, 12, and from that one, when I saw that one, just every time I hit a shot, ripping my to the side, screaming. It was something different. It was just the way he played was not just he could get any bucket he wanted to, but just the grace he played with. Just how aesthetically every shot he took looked. The way he leg kicked on that fadeaway. Just everything about his game, the footwork, just everything was just like
poetry. It was art.
It was art. It was pure art.
It was beautiful. Man.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We've had a bit of overlap. So my last one is fifth ring. So, going back to 2008 finals, when they lost to the Boston Celtics, who were not just a rival to him, but a historic rival to the Lakers. That one obviously just stung different, just stung a lot more. And you could see right from the start, there's the iconic photo of him, holding the newspaper of him reading that the Celtics won, and he said that he'd kept that newspaper, it fueled him, he kept it up there, and it fueled him for the next 2 seasons actually, because even though he was able to win that next year against the Orlando Magic, he said that he didn't truly feel like he'd done something because he wanted it to be the Celtics that he beat. And he made it a mission to make sure that he beat the Celtics at their best, and that it was them. And that moment was it was kind of like a completion of what he was able to do. It was the last great moment in that setting on that stage, in the NBA Finals. And in that last game, in the clinching game, he showed more about what he was about. It was just about doing what was needed. Yep. He didn't have the greatest shooting night. He actually shot fairly poorly, but he was doing a lot defensively. It was a gritty game. Everyone on both teams were just shooting terribly, but he made sure that he made the winning players. He made the assist to Met World Peace to win the game as well. And it was just, you could just see how much that ring meant to him. And he's often said that is the ring that meant the most to him. Also for beating Shaq, for eclipsing Shaq in rings as well, he said. But yeah, just being able to avenge that loss against the Celtics. It would have been great if he was able to get to that 6 rings that he wanted to. But that 5th ring was definitely special. It definitely stood out. It silenced the doubters. A lot of people that was saying, he needed Shaq to win. He made selfish decisions and all of that, but he just showed that he was that winning player.
Yeah. that just capped off a legendary career. And you know, five. I think it's often forgotten by a few NBA fans that Kobe Bryant actually won 5 rings, and you know, one was a three-peat and one was a repeat. You know, those two teams were so dominant, and he was the forefront of both of those teams. So you know, being the spearhead of 2 of the most dominant teams in NBA history, man, crazy. But yeah, that last ring just capped it all off, didn't it? And also he had more of his family around him with that last ring. You know, Gianna there's those videos of Gianna as a little kid holding the trophy, and that must have been probably his most special ring, seeing as he had, you know, his new budding family there with all his girls and stuff. So yeah, it's a good pick. I'm gonna go into my last one because obviously, as you said, there has been some overlap, and that's when Kobe became the first player in NBA history to have 2 different numbers retired by the same team. Obviously, for the first 9 years of his career, he wore the number 8. And then for the remainder after that, he wore the number 24. You know, I've been reading on why he picked those numbers. And he says this, when I first came in at 8, it was really trying to plant your flag sort of thing. I got to prove that I belong here in this league. I've got to prove that I'm one of the best in this league. You're going after them. It's non-stop energy and aggressiveness stuff. Then 24 is a growth from that. Physical attributes aren't there the way they used to be, but the maturity level is greater. Marriage, kids start having a broader perspective on being one of the older guys on the team now as opposed to being the youngest. Things evolve. And, you know, I think the 8 Kobe was, you know, and the 24 Kobe are just as iconic as each other. And not many people can say that the first 10 years of their career were just as good as the last 10 years of their career. I don't really think of an NBA player that can say that as much as Kobe Bryant can. And when you see those numbers, 8 and 24, you instantly think of Kobe Bryant. You know, that's how linked he is. You know, that's how linked those numbers are to greatness. And yeah, to have both of them retired by the same team, and it's such an esteemed organization where, you know, in those rafters, he's joined by the likes of Elgin Baylor, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. To have 2 of those, it just shows he was the greatest Laker ever. And even Magic Johnson said that. So that's not just coming from me. That's coming from Magic Johnson himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it was great to see that. Also, part of so he wore at an Adidas camp, he wore number 143, and so he added those together to make 8 as well. And then also, so his roots had a lot to do with his number choices as well. And he wore 24 at Lower Merion High School. Yeah. But yeah, I remember the lead up to the promotion to his jersey retirement, and just seeing, you know, polls, you know, which should we retire, 8 or 24? And I was just thinking, like, you can
both.
You have to do both.
Yeah.
I could never see a Laker wear the number 8 or 24. No. Like, it would look so wrong. It would look terrible, and that player would probably get hate like from all angles. I don't know. No,
it's like if someone came into Chicago and tried to wear 23 or Derrick Rose's 1, no, it just wouldn't run. But yeah, and
I mean, yeah, we gave KD's number to like a G League player the next year, but
and the Cavs didn't give a damn about Kyrie's number.
Yeah,
that right now.
That one's wild to me.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to retire. If he ends up doing if
Colin Sexton, I was gonna say
they're gonna have to retire both. Like he get a game 7 game winner for your franchise. But anyway,
the biggest shot by far in their history. But I was just gonna say the thing I love about that moment as well is that obviously his family and his friends didn't get to see his Hall of Fame speech, but at least they got to see the jersey retirement. Which is
there was just a lot of moments where he was so big and endeared, like in his later stages, you know, coming from a lot of fans that hated but respected him, you know, for what he was on the court. But then it just quickly transitioned into appreciation for his career and for him as a person.
Yeah.
And I like that, he didn't have to die for everyone to, start to express that towards him, really from 2016 onwards, as soon as he released Dear Basketball and it was known that he was retiring, he was just showered in appreciation and love and
a farewell tour was special as well. He got
a
that
farewell tour, and the whole league just always stopped for all of his occasions, and that just the whole of Spain speech, just man.
I can't believe we've missed out on that one.
Yeah, but, it would have been something else.
If you guys have any other moments you want to talk about in the comments or on our Twitter page, just put them down. We'll be happy to engage in any conversation with people. But those are just a little snapshot into the career of Kobe Bryant. Obviously he had millions upon millions of iconic moments. We could have been sat here for the whole day speaking about Kobe Bryant's iconic moments, but just a few ones that stood out to us, I think gives you an idea of what a player he was and what a man he was as well. Yeah, so we're getting close to being finished here, but we just want to summarize the legacy of Kobe Bryant one last time. Kobe Bryant, as we said, was bigger than basketball. Even if you're not a basketball fan, you don't even have to be a sports fan for all you care. Kobe Bryant was someone that can give you any nugget of wisdom, can motivate you, whatever you're doing. If you're a painter, if you're a musician, anything like that, listen to Kobe Bryant and he will get you going. He will get you firing. And I think that's, for me, the most important part of his legacy. He was such a great speaker and orator, and he's left behind such wisdom behind him. That it's really powerful and impactful.
Yeah, he was someone that was just all in everything he did. He brought passion to everything he did. Nothing he did was ever, half-assed. I remember watching, that public funeral service, and Vanessa Bryant, his wife, talking about how, he learned how to play the piano just to play for, to perform for her, and and this later, this next phase of his life, of his career that he was going into, he quickly found it. He's someone that identifies what he wants to do, and then he just puts his all into it. There's no, one foot in, one foot out. He's just all in, and he wanted to share it. He was quick. He wasn't. He was completely different once he retired. During his career, he was relentless. That goal was, I need to win a championship at all means, by any means. And, I need to go through this opposing team's player to do it. But, once he wasn't playing competitively, and, even at points, during, Team USA or wherever, he wasn't shy about passing on, to the next generation, to the LeBrons, to the D-Ways, and then later to the Kyries, the Devin Bookers. And he knew what it meant to them. So, it fired him up to do it even more. And he was a player that, so many players will talk about their individual stories of, seeing him, being motivated by seeing him working out hours before, I think, no, not Jalen Rose, Asian Zero. He was talking about how he used to rock up to games earlier because he knew Kobe was playing, and then Kobe, without acknowledging him, just playing, would just notice and then started to go even earlier and play for even longer. And this was probably training for like 3 hours before a game even starts. Or Allen Iverson talking about how, he'd hit him up saying, "Oh, you want to go out? You want to go to the clubs?" And he'd say, "No, I'm going to train." And he just put everything he had into what mattered to him. And after his career, what mattered to him was his family and this next phase of his life. And he had that same relentlessness, about being a family man. A girl died, and about, giving to the world, giving his art to the world. It was a new art form of storytelling, and he took it just as seriously as basketball. It wasn't just, let me fall back to this. It was, no, this means just as much as to me as basketball ever did. And he said that. He said his passion, it was it really rejuvenated him when he won that Oscar, because it showed that he really had the potential to be remembered for that even more than basketball. So it's a legacy of, he fulfilled he got everything out of what he did in the time that he had, but also, there's stuff left there because it was cut short from us.
I can't even imagine the pain that his family had felt that day and still feel to this day. I feel a lot for his wife, Vanessa. Losing the love of her life, and her daughter must boy, I can't even describe how she must even feel about that. Just heartbreak. And I want to give a shout out to Pau Gasol.
He's been
Kobe's
what a
teammates.
friend. What a friend to have. A brother
for life. The way he stepped up for the Bryant family, almost filling in as a male role model of sorts for those kids. And he obviously knew Kobe in a professional sense, but it's clear that they had this bond off the court as well. And Pau Gasol was trying to honor that. I have a lot of time and a lot of respect for Pau Gasol and what he's doing for that family.
Also going back to his influence on the youth, and particularly girls, women as well, is I believe her name is Sabrina Ionescu, who he was mentoring while she was at Oregon, and she started to have quite a relationship with both him and his younger and Gianna, and you could see the impact that he had on him. He really cared. It was not a front. It wasn't it wasn't just, I'll put on this hoodie for the WNBA and tell people to watch. Like, he really took it seriously. That's why I hate to see, people that unnecessarily hate on it, and then in the same breath talk about, loving Kobe, but that he would not have stood for that. No. But the Sabrina, I love to see, Sabrina when she's hanging out with Kobe's other daughters, and just seeing they're making whatever silly TikToks or whatever. It's just great to see that there's people like her and Pau Gasol that still bringing joy to their lives. Because it's difficult enough to lose someone, but for them to be that public, and to feel like almost like they don't have an opportunity to mourn on their own. It's such a public, having to mourn and having to almost share him with the whole world. Yeah. That's got to be.
Vanessa Bryant she'd privated all her social medias. Apologies. She privated all her social medias for about 10 months after Kobe's passing, because obviously with something like that, you want to deal with it, with your family.
And they were being tagged. And they were being tagged in like so many Kobe posts every day as well. That must have been hard
to see that. And it's a testament to the man that Kobe was, that people like Pau Gasol and Sabrina Ionescu, and I'm sure LeBron has probably done stuff that maybe haven't made the press, and people like those are still looking after the man's family because that's how much admiration they had for him. Wow. Kobe Bryant, man. Almost a year since it happened. Since that happened, so many things have happened, but still no one's forgot about that tragic day. Which
it just feels it feels like yesterday. the point from when he died and to this point, it just feels like it's been just a different chapter of my life, for real. Like, it's just been
everything's changed.
Everything's changed. It's a different world.
We want to thank you all for taking the time to hear our words on Kobe Bryant. We were eager to make this episode because he meant so much to us, and I'm sure he means a lot to you as well. So share your thoughts with us in the comments or on Twitter or whatever. Share your thoughts with us. We'll be happy to engage in any discussion. I hope we did a good job in trying to honor his life and his legacy. It's not easy, but we gave it our best shot. Thank you all for tuning in.
Rest in peace, rest in power, Kobe Bryant,
For real, man.
and Gianna and everyone.
And prayers up
everyone
for the Bryant family as well.
and all the families affected.
All right, so thank you everyone for listening, and we're out. Peace.